Get back to this leading story. 15 people, including 2 children, were killed in a crash between a minibus taxi and a truck in the Eastern Cape province. It's all believed that a heavy-duty truck had hit a stray animal, causing the driver to lose control. This on the N10 on Aberdeen. As he was trying to regain control, his trailer capsized, thus crushing the taxi beneath it. Just continue our conversation. Eastern Cape Transport Department Spokesperson Unathi Binqose back with me again to, of course, continue off with our conversation. And thank you so much for your patience, Unathi. You are still continuing your point with regards to the tragic events that took place on the N10.
Indeed, it was very freakish in its nature. It's a case where everything that could have gone wrong actually went wrong. A case of things being in a wrong place at the wrong time, and that was a classic case of that. But unfortunately, it was an incident that has accounted for 15 lives. All those were inside that minibus taxi have sadly perished. And now the process of identifying the bodies has been opened, and we are expecting that the relatives of those who have sadly passed on in this accident will begin to arrive here in Aberdeen for that process of identifying their loved ones. At this stage, we are not 100% clear where this minibus taxi was from, but we understand that it was from one of the towns in the Eastern Cape, in the former Transkei, and it was headed for the Western Cape, Cape Town to be exact. That is as per the documents that we found on the scene. Unfortunately, there were no survivors to give us an account of exactly where they were coming from. But if they were from the Transkei, it would mean that they will have some 500 kilometers to get to where the scene of the accident is, because it's right on the border with the Western Cape.
So tragic. No survivors at this point. When we talk of 15 people, we actually accounted for 2 children, 9 females and 5 males, Unathi, if I am correct, and I stand to be corrected there. Do we know at what time this accident occurred?
It's actually 9 females, you're correct in that, and 4 adult males, as well as 2 children. The children are ages between 2 years and 2 months. That is also according to the documents that were found on the scene. And the accident happened at around midnight, just after 11 o'clock. Like I said, it was very freakish in its nature. I mean, it was a case of very, very fine margins. And the fact that this trailer tipped over right at the time when that taxi was passing by makes it even more tragic. If there was a slight change in terms of meters, centimeters, and even seconds, maybe we would have been talking a different story here. But here we are talking about 15 people that have lost their lives in this manner.
We've also seen the visuals on our screens right now of course, the capsized, I think it's the truck that I'm looking at. We can definitely see that crushed minibus taxi as well. How would you describe that particular road strip, Unathi? Is it one that has good lighting? Is it a road that's almost, unroadworthy, that still needs maintenance? Is it a good road? Would you attribute this tragic accident to human error? When you look and, sort of like analyze the road itself, what does it look like?
The state of the road is fairly good. It is a road that is in a very good condition. It's one of those that are maintained by the National Road Agency, which is SANRAL, and it's one of those major roads that are linking the Western and the Eastern Cape. But of course, in this instance, we had a very bizarre one, because it's not common that you'll find stray animals like a cattle, a domestic animal. You would have expected that from a kudu or something like that, because that is something that is very, very common in that area. But to hear that the driver of the truck had actually hit a car, that on its own was very bizarre. But the state of the road was fairly good. But of course, we'll take in both vehicles, the wreckage of the taxi as well as the wreckage of the truck, for further investigations to see if those may have been contributing factors to the accident, on top of the stray animal that was the main contributing factor. Were the brakes okay in the truck as well as in the minibus taxi? We'll also check on the computer boxes on the issues of speed and things like that. But unfortunately, we do not have anyone who survived the accident except for the truck driver, who could have given us an alternative view on what may have been the contributing factor in this accident. However, we will check on any evidence we can get from the vehicles themselves.
And my last question to you before I let you go, as we understand, road carnages, almost the order of the day in South Africa, worryingly so. What would be your message to drivers, especially those who've been driving in the middle of the night? I can imagine, fatigue at times, and I'm not saying in this particular incident, but at times fatigue also contributes to some of the accidents that have been recorded. I suppose your message then, as the Department of Transport.
Fatigue is a major issue, particularly in that Aberdeen Middleburg strip, which is the middle zone between Cape Town and most towns within the Eastern Cape. And a lot of drivers get to that area very fatigued. They had been driving for nearly 5 hours, and more often than not still have another 4 to 3 hours to go before they reach their destinations. So we have been encouraging them to take regular breaks, particularly when they reach that stretch. Because apart from the issue of fatigue, there's also the threat of stray animals, particularly wild animals like kudus. You add a cow, as is the case in this one, that calls for extra caution, and we are calling on them and pleading with them to be extra cautious when they are reaching that area and ensure that they reduce speed and, of course, take regular breaks. But, of course, in this particular accident, it could have been difficult for anyone to predict what was to happen and to try and avoid it from happening, particularly on the side of the taxi.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us and giving us these details. The Transport Department spokesperson out in the Eastern Cape, Unathi Binqose, just giving us those details around this tragic accident out in the N10 in Aberdeen. This in the Eastern Cape. 15 lives perished from this accident. Our condolences to the families and loved ones of those who died under these circumstances.